Right, hi guys, can you hear me? I hope you can all hear me. You can use the chat on the side if you can. Um, I hope I am live. Yes, you can. Fantastic. That's good to hear. That's great. I'm not expecting a lot of people to turn up today because I only sent one message out, I'm afraid. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of a turnout, but that's not a problem because I can answer as many of your questions as possible. But we'll just give it a few. In fact, if you've got any questions now, you're welcome to post them in the chat. What I intend to do today is no more than answer your common questions and maybe give you some pointers on how to revise, and maybe give you some advice on how to on what questions to focus on over the next few weeks. I mean, you have got some time. It's not. I know a lot of students email me and say and suggest that we're running out of time. You do have time to revise as long as you focus your revision. And I'm going to talk a little bit about your how to focus revision today. But yeah, we're just waiting for others to arrive as well. I suppose it's YouTube, so they can always catch up later. Before we do begin, I just want to give a quick plug to my book here. So I have this on Amazon. It's not very pricey at all. And what I've done here is I put up all of my plans for the various essays, for lots of essays. So there are over 130 essay questions and sample sources, as well as pages of plans. I think someone quite nicely described this book as a cheat code for politics, because what I tend to do is focus the students straight away on politics, on essays, rather than just sort of general content. So the idea really is to get you going on essay writing and on planning rather than just on note taking. So I think that's a good, useful book. I'm not sure if anyone here online has actually purchased this book, but it's actually quite a useful book. Um, and Yes, Kara's got a question. Would I sell essay plans for paper two? Well, actually, paper two essay plans are available. You can get those essay plans on in this book, so they're all available in here. So you've got essay, you've got component one, and you've got essay and component two essays. And they're all available in this book. So yeah, you will be able to access from the book. Are you saying whether they'll be available online? Is that what you're asking? Um, I mean, there may be. I could possibly put it online, I suppose, but I'm not intending to. I've got this annoying thing, haven't I, where I've turned off comments until you can't send a second comment until 30 seconds. So my apologies. So you bought on. Okay, I've got the paper one online, and I haven't got paper two. All right, let me see if I can fix that. Um, Yeah, thank you, Tom. The book contains some great contemporary examples compared to other textbooks. I think that's the plan. That was the idea behind it. The idea was to put together lots of contemporary examples, right? Um, and No, they're not U.S. politics. I'm afraid I haven't yet been able to put through or put together US politics examples, I'm afraid. So that is work in progress. But I don't think I'm going to get them done for this year. What I do have is on my website, I've got a little section on US contemporary examples, which was actually from last year. So you're welcome to have a look at those as well. Um, Thank you. They're so updated. Thank you, Margaret. I'm glad you like it. Um, Other than the book, what are other useful resources when revising? I may talk a little bit about that today, Fatima, when I go through some of my slides. I'm afraid Focus Worldwide, I don't have any remaining tutor slots. In fact, I'm not doing any tutoring or very little tutoring this time round, just because I've got so much else on, I'm afraid. But you are there are two things you can do. I mean, maybe linked to a question that Fatima asked. I would suggest, in order to get ahead, I have got my courses that I did throughout since January, which I think would work as good as tutoring sessions. But also, you may have all got from my email, and I put a thing up on TikTok today. I've got these revision sessions starting next week at King's College in London. So I feel that a lot of what we're going to talk about today will be consolidated in that King session. I mean, the students who came last year to the King session said that they had a route through both paper 1 and paper 2. In other words, I had effectively covered essays that that had come up, or that did come up. Sorry, I can't even speak anymore. That did come up in both paper 1 and paper 2. So I think if you have got some time, come to those King's revision sessions, because I'm fairly convinced that they will be enough, not for you for your revision. Obviously, you've got to put in the effort into your revision, but there'll be enough to guide you through your revision, almost like you've got a blueprint for revision if you come to those sessions. That's how I see it. So I would advise you, if you can't come to London, if you're outside of London, would always advise you to do it, to come on face to face. But there would also be a what do you call it? I can't even speak now. An online session. That's exactly what I was going to say. Right. What else have we got? Yeah. How would you recommend using your essay plans? Do you just try to memorize them or write them out? I would write them out, and I wouldn't just do essay plans. And I'm going to talk about that now. Spam, do I have any free resources? Yeah, I've got so many essays on my website. You can just look at those essays. They're free essays you can look at. And on my YouTube channel, you would see a number of essays as well. Everett, do you think there are other essay plans you should focus on apart from the ones in the book? I can answer the ones in the book quite successfully. Fantastic. But I'm worried about that I am short of examples. Well, hopefully you learn the examples in the book, and you get the most contemporary of examples. But if you're happy with those essays, I would say you're 80% there. I mean, I don't want to be too presumptuous, but I would say that most of those essays will allow you to cover multiple essays, if you get what I mean. So unless they throw out a really odd essay in say one of the topics, and if they do, you've got options, haven't you? So I wouldn't worry too much. If you're really comfortable with those essays and you think you can write any of them, you're in a good place, Everett. I mean that's not a place that most people are in, to be honest. This far out of essays or of exams, but I think it's good. Chanel, will you publish predictions? I'm going to do a little bit about that today. I will say a little bit. Yes. How do I access the courses? So just go to courses on my website and you'll be able to see them. Do you have any suggestions about how to revise ideology specifically? Because both UK and US politics are quite practical. Ideologies are a lot more abstract. Nabi, yeah, that's a good question. So I got on Friday and Sunday, I've got these political idea sessions. I can't say enough. I mean, if you attend those sessions, one of them, you don't have to attend both because they're repeats. But if you attend one of those sessions, I would say you'll be set for political ideas. So short of going through the entire day, which I won't be able to do here, I think you'll be quite fine for that. Everett, how long are these sessions at the college, at King's College? Yeah, the sessions will start at 10:30 and will end around 3:34. I think 3:30 will probably end, and then we'll have half an hour for Q&A, or half an hour for you can ask me any questions you want. But yeah, it's a day event. Fatima, considering there is not much time until exams, would you recommend writing essays or detailed plan? I would recommend writing essays. More so than detailed plans, because you write one essay out in full, you're able to cover multiple essays. You write plans out in detail, which is good. I'm not saying that's a wrong thing to do. You're going to have to do some detailed plans, but I think the ability to extend those detailed plans to multiple essays is far smaller, if that makes sense, or far less than if you write a full essay out. If you write a full essay out, you probably can use those examples and the analysis and the content for multiple essays. I'll come back to predictions, Cara. So I'm going to go into my slides in a second. Could I use Keir Starmer's plan to create Great British Energy is an example of renationalisation? I'm currently planning an essay on if current Labour is still new Labour. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think you can. I think I understand your question. A to A star, we can maybe talk a bit about that later. Would you recommend doing essays straight away? Yes, yes, and yes. You have to do essays straight away. And I explain how you do that. You were here last year, were you? And I got you an A star. So, so why are you here now, Cabbage? If I got you an A star last year, are you just here for fun? That's good. That's good. I mean, it adds to my stats, and that's not a problem at all. That's wonderful, in fact. So where are we? We have got 49 people. I didn't expect 49 people to turn up today. I expected far fewer. So that's really, really good to see. Okay. So what else we got? I don't know what you mean by perspectives, Kechilia. I just joined now, which is okay. You can go back later, Imani. Where are the political ideology sessions? So they're at King's College. So if you go to, let me just show you my website. Oh, you guys, let me see if I can share the screen with you. A-level politics. Right, I'm just going to share my screen with you just to show you where you should go. I'm just confusing myself. 1 second. Let me stop share. Let me share screen, and I'll share a window. And where am I? All right, I'm going to share this. But then I'm going to go to here. Right. So I hope you can see my screen here. So you should be able to see my screen here. So if you want to access my courses, by the way, if you want to join the revision day, this is probably the best place to go to. Where are we? So yeah, you go to join now, front page, and you'll be able to access. And I would say, by the way, I would say the political ideas one is probably quite important, and also the political UK politics one. So you can do that. Also, and I should have said. So someone's asked me, how do I access the courses? So you go to that, and then you go to 2024, and then here you go. All my courses for 2024 will be here. We've just finished series 3. So these 3 series are really detailed conversations about essay plans, and we go into lots and lots of essays. So, there's 4 videos per session. So, again, I don't like to be overconfident, but I would say that if you wanted to get an A star, an AA star, and you've got the time to put into 4, 8, 12, basically 12 videos, an hour and a half long each video, you can obviously put them on fast speed, as you youngers do. If you're ready to do that, I think you'll be in a good position for your exam. I would say these are really important for your exam. Now, if you want a condensed version of that, come to my King's College revision day, which is here, and you will find, so you can come to the UK politics revision day, and I'm basically going to give the highlights. I'm going to give the most important essays I think you should revise here, and I'm going to plan those essays out with you. So I'm going to probably say there are probably 8 or 9 essays in paper 1 that you've got to focus on, and I'm going to go through those 8 or 9 essays in great detail here, right? So you should get all of that there. And let me stop the screen share, and let's share screen again, and share a window, and yeah, let's go back to that. So you should be able to now see that. Okay, right. So I've just got a few more questions. How many essays should we write? I don't think you need to write. Okay, I'll come back to how many essays. I'm going to actually talk about essay writing now. Yeah. Okay, Theo's question I'm going to answer very soon. And Cabbage, you've just come along because you're subscribed. Thank you, Cabbage. What a name. Yes, Rosie, it will be recorded. Essay writing with less time. Yes, you should do essay writing. So I'm going to Yeah, okay. Let's go through these slides very quickly, and then I'll come back to your questions, right? So I hope you can all see, and I'm just having a yeah. I hope you can all see this slide. So I just want to say a few words about revision, and I'm going to skip through this quite quickly. What I would like to say about revision is essay writing is probably at the core of revision, right? So when you write essays, that's when you know you're revising. When you don't write essays, you're not particularly getting, you're not getting close to revision sometimes. So for example, I've just got this really neat thing that I put together once. I would say taking notes from a textbook is very low intensity revision. Rewriting your notes, very low intensity revision. Condensing your notes, very low intensity. Highlighting the textbook, reading your textbook. These are all low intensity revision techniques. At this stage, you should be doing very little of this. Some of you may be doing a lot of this. I don't think you should be doing a lot of this. At this stage, you should be doing very little of note taking from your textbook, right? Or condensing your notes. That's not where it should be at this stage. Really, what you should be doing is you should be writing essay plans and you should be writing full essays. So I've got some medium intensity things, which I think is still quite good to do. But I think this is where you should be writing essays in full from a list of potential essay questions, putting together detailed essay plans, right? Reading over your essays out loud and amending and rewriting these essays and teaching others what you have learnt from your essay writing. I would probably put these four things as the most high intensity revision task you should do. But also, I would go as far as to say that 90% of your time should be spent doing these things now rather than doing any of these things. And maybe you could supplement what you're doing with, watching the occasional documentary or podcast, reading over examiners' reports. I think they're quite useful, actually. Preparing examples to use in each topic. That's pretty good to do as well. Pairing up with other students and talking through essays that you've done. That's really good, actually, once you've done these. Generally planning past papers, fine, not bad. But you've got to be writing essays, and essays is really where it should be at, right? So how do you write essays? So I would say, and I think, yeah, I would say I've put some things here, but I'm going to say this in my own way. Um, your essay writing are your notes, right? When you write essays, you're actually writing notes. Now, I'm not expecting you, by the way, to write. I'm going to actually switch to it. I'm not expecting you to write an essay from memory at the, if you don't know an answer to an essay. So that's not really where you should be, at, right? What you should be doing rather is when you come across an essay question. So you look at my book here, you find a question. So, for example, you may find an essay question. I'm just looking at an essay question on electoral systems. So you may get the following question. You may focus on following question. Bum, bum, bum. If I can find it. Yeah. Evaluate the view that the case to replace first past the post electoral system with a proportional one is now compelling. You may think, okay, I can't quite answer that question yet, so I'm now going to go to my textbook. No, what you should do is always start with an essay question. Always start with an essay question. Plan as much as you can that essay question. So try to plan it. You're not going to be able to have a complete detailed plan at this stage. Just sort of sketch it out. Sketch out what your three sections are going to be, your three paragraphs are going to be. Then what I would suggest you do is you write your essay out in untimed conditions, a paragraph at a time. And as you're writing your essay, you're researching, you're Googling, you're going through your notes, you're going through your textbook. But your note taking is to do with your essay rather than your note taking is to do with something other than beyond your essay. Do you get that? So your essay writing is paragraph by paragraph, and you're researching and you're writing your essay as you go along, right? Once you've got a complete essay, so that may take you at the very beginning stages, that may take you 2 hours to write. Of course, in an exam, you've only got 45 minutes to write a 30 marker, right? So, some of you may be panicking now and you may think, well, wait a minute. how am I going to write these essays out in full? When I've written it in 2 hours or 1.5 hours, that's not a problem, because at this stage, what you want to do is your objective is to get the best essay done. Once you've reflected over that best essay and you've amended it and you've thought about it, you pass it to a mate, you've thought about it, you then rewrite it in timed conditions, right? So you're writing two versions of an essay. You're writing an essay in untimed conditions, and then you're writing an essay in timed conditions. And by rewriting it after a couple of days, or maybe you reserve a bank of essays now, and then you spend some time in a couple of weeks' time to rewrite those essays as a way of consolidating. So you're writing and then you're consolidating, you're writing and then you're consolidating. So when you then get an opportunity to rewrite your essay in time conditions, you're going to write it quicker, you're going to remember more, and you're going to be exercising your muscle memory, so that when you get to the stage where you are writing when you're writing more and more essays in untimed and time conditions, you'll be flying. You'll inevitably start writing essays in 45 minutes, right? I would say the basic thing you've got to do before your exam begins, right? The most important thing you've got to do before your exam, say a couple of days before your exam, is you're reading over your essays once again. Yeah. You're reading over those essays once again. So, and that's really, essays got to be at the core. Now, some of you are going to say, well, why can't I just write detailed essay plans? Fine. Tom has asked that question: how does memorizing an essay plan with plenty of examples compared to writing an essay in full? I would say what you're not doing there, Tom, is you're not really experiencing an exam condition. You are writing something out, and you're writing an essay plan, and that's good. You can get through more, but what you're not doing is, and so maybe do a mixture of detailed essay plans. And again, Tom's version of a detailed essay plan may actually be quite detailed, right? It may be even close to what an essay looks like, whereas another person's version of an essay plan could be very threadbare, could just be sort of half a page. So it depends on what the detailedness of your essay plan. But I would suggest that try to do a mixture, not just write your essays out in full, not just write essay plans in full, but also write essays in full as well. Yes, Kay said, look, I think this is a really good point. I've spent too much time on essay plans. I think I need to go into writing essays and researching. I think that's what you have to do. That's exactly what you have to do. Rosie's asked the question, well, look, she said, I think I'm cooked. Does that mean, Rosie, that you think you've not got enough time? I don't think that. I don't think so at all. Because I think if you've got an essay focus, and you know that you've got to focus on maybe 15 essays for component 1, or less than 15 actually for paper 1. If we were to include political ideas, let's say 15 for paper 1, and then another 15 for paper 2, that's doable, right? Those 15 and 15, that's pretty doable, I would suggest to you. And you could write essay plans and full essays. And then in US politics, you probably got another 15 essays, maybe, or probably less, I would say, for US politics. So I think when you start condensing it like that, you're in a better position, I would suggest. Yes. Nabi, I don't quite get your question about political ideology provenance. How do you think of points for writing essays, Fatima? Well, the way you think of points for writing essays is you look at essay plans that have already been produced, for example. You look at the past, the examiner's reports, they give you essays. You look at essays on my website, they give you pointers as to how to write essays out in full. So all of that is very plausible, I would say. All of that you could do. And then you Google it, you find out. If the question is, to what extent do the evaluate view that the current Conservative Party is no longer a far-right party, Google it. Is the current Conservative Party a far-right party? You're going to get points, aren't you? And then you can build on those points and research those points as you write your essays. Yes. Oh, someone's asked for the King College link in the show notes. I will do that. I'll put them in. In fact, let me do that now before I forget. Let me just find it. So you can find all of my courses here. I'm going to post it. Hopefully this works. So yeah, you should be able to see that there. Nabi, you can access the recording. You just have to sign up to the course and then you can access the recording. Okay, Theo, can you put the examiner's reports for 2023 on your website? I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to make a note of that because I haven't done that yet. The examiner's reports are brilliant. Yeah, I think I will do that. Okay. Right, I'm just looking at some of your questions. I am going to go through political parties for you now, just to give you some pointers on political parties. Yeah, so yeah, Nabi, if you know the recordings, you just have to sign up to the King's College session, and then I will send you the recordings once it's done. Yeah, so sign up for the online version, and you'll get the recordings. Excellent. Okay, I think I will move on. What would you recommend if you want to go into more detail? Can afford to spend more time on courses and webinars? Anna, I'm not saying this, by the way, just to sell a course. I would say that the King's College thing. I don't know if any of you are on here who did attend the King's College thing last year, but I would say that it will focus your attention on the 8 or 9 questions or 10 questions that you probably need to focus on. Focusing mostly on paper 1 for revision or split. No, I think Chanel. Okay, so Chanel's asked the question: should you focus on paper 1 at this stage, or should you go across? You think about now. Let's think about it. I'm just looking at my diary here. You got 1, 2. You got 3. You got 4. You've got 5. You've got 6. You've got 7 weeks. You got 7 weeks until your component 1 exam. That's plenty of time, by the way. I'm telling you, that's a good amount of time before your component 1 exam, right? So you got 7 weeks before your component 1 exam. After that, you got 1, 2, you got 2 weeks before component 2, and then you got 1, 2, and 2 weeks before component 3. The useful thing is you've got that half term between component 1, component 2, and component 3. So, I think they're quite nicely spaced out, these exams, right? I would be working. I know some of you are going to find this shocking, but I at this stage would probably do minimal for component 3 unless you're really struggling with component 3. But I would spend more time at this moment on paper 1 and paper 2 revision. So if you were to give me percentages, I would probably put 60% at this stage into component 1. At this stage, I'm saying that's going to change in say 3 weeks time. I would probably put 30% into component 2, and then I would put 10% into component 3. And then in 3 weeks time, I would start to, because you'll get more component 1 done, more paper 1 done. In 3 weeks time, I'll probably look where I am and say, okay, I'm going to probably put a bit more time into paper 2. But that half term is wonderful. And I probably will be doing a webinar during that half term, going through component paper 2. But I think that half term gives you a lot of breathing space for paper 2 and 3. So yeah, I think that's probably the way I would do it. Sorry if that sounds like it's too radical, but that's probably how I would do it. Yes, let's go back. I've lost where I am. Okay. Yeah. Let's have a look at some questions. Do you think it's possible for questions to be 2 of the same ideology this year? Yes, it's of course possible. Yeah, they haven't done it before, and that's of course possible. Could you make a list of questions which we have an essay plans for? We can pretty much answer any questions in that topic. I think I'll get your question, Dana. We haven't finished content yet. We have 3 more topics. Do you mean in your class? Or do you mean, I don't know what you mean exactly. You mean because, yeah, that's not May. Oh, okay. You could still got work to do after Easter. Okay, that's not ideal, but fine. It's 3 more topics. I mean, that's quite a lot, isn't it? So probably 3 US or global topics you've got left. Yeah, the question is, with political ideologies, do you think it's sufficient focus on the 4 themes: human nature, society, state, and economy, or do we need to look at more general themes like equality, for example? I think you do need to look at general themes. I think what you probably don't need to do is focus on the past questions too much in ideologies, because they don't normally repeat past questions. They're trying to get through the syllabus, right? So that helps us to narrow things down. Yeah, it helps us now. Cara, I don't know about AQA that much, but if they were nice last year, they'll probably be nice this year. I mean, to be honest, Edexcel were quite nice last year as well. Examiners' reports are really good because examiners' reports, Dana, give you full essays and tips from the examiners. I would read through those examiners' reports. I mean, I put them as a second tier, but I think they're quite good actually, because you can also utilize them to write, to find your points, to write answers to a question. Yeah. Yeah, so I've answered Chanel's question. I'm very bad at examples. Well, then I would say, Will, pick up those examples from my textbook, from my revision book, and you'll have plenty of examples there. And once you write those essays out, then it will be easier for you to use those examples. Or I'm just in the dark, I've realized. I need a haircut. Anyway, right. I've just noticed that. I need to go to the barbers. Where are we? Okay, I'm just going to show you another slide. I know we don't have that much time, but I would like to show you just my party slides. And again, I'm not going to be able to do justice to this so much, but I want to show you just political parties today. I've spent a long time on political parties, right? There are 47 slides there. I'm not going to be able to go through all 47 slides, but I just want to give you the highlights because I think political parties, I've got a very strong hunch on political parties this year in terms of what possibly could come up. So this is, and I'm just talking about Edexcel at the moment. Sorry for AQA students, but I'm just going to focus on Edexcel because the majority of students who come my way are from Edexcel. So there was a question about the minor parties here. The only parties that matter are the Labour and Conservative Party. There was a question here about funding. There was and then that was repeated again. There was a party funding question last year. Evaluate the view that emergence of multiple parties in the UK means that the Westminster electoral system must be changed. So it's a question, it's sort of a crossover question, but don't worry too much about that. There was this horrible question about pick and mix and left and right. But as yet, they've not had a question about a party and its past, or e.g. Labour and Old Labour, Conservatism and Thatcherism, or the policy divisions between parties, right? So if I were you, I'm not saying this should be exclusive, but I would focus on a party and its past, Labour, Conservative and its past, and I would focus on the question, the divisions between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. I would focus on those two sets of questions in political parties for paper 1. So, for example, a question like this: evaluate the view that the major parties agree more than they disagree on policies and ideas. I would focus on this question. It's sort of due now. I really feel it's due now. You know, I think that it's really important. It's really important they ask this question, and we're just a few months outside of a general election. So why couldn't they ask you this question? So I would focus on this question, and I planned it in great depth with students. But you know, it's a question I think you should think about. I think you should think about a Thatcherism question. They haven't asked you yet. They haven't asked students yet whether the current Conservative Party has moved away from Thatcherism. I would say that is a question that's bound to come up, surely, sometime soon, because there's so much to be said about the Conservative Party and Thatcherism, right? And, you know, in January, when I went through this in my webinars, we did a lot on the Conservative Party and Thatcherism. So I would say, as a way of focusing your revision for parties, Conservative Party and Thatcherism would be good. And as you can see, we've got just so many examples there and so many analysis points. Evaluate the view that the current Labour Party has moved away from old Labour. That hasn't come up. So Labour today, Labour previously. I think that's a really important question. So again, focus on that. I don't think that's necessarily going to come up because it has come up before, but I put it in there. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Maybe they could rephrase the question that there's evaluate the view that we no longer have a two-party system in the UK. But again, it could come up, but it's come up twice now in some shape or form. Not twice, once in a minor parties question, and that's really what this is. So I don't know if this would particularly come up, but anyway, it's worth thinking about. Evaluate the view that Labour is internally divided. That's a good question. The internal divisions within Labour, and then maybe an internal divisions within the Conservative Party. So I think in political parties, what have we said? We basically said that you should try to focus on that question there. One, you should try to focus on that question there, Thatcherism. Two, you should probably focus on that question there. Three, I had said that, long shot, but it could happen. That question there. Four, have we said? And then we've added the Conservatives, whether they're internally divided. Five. I think those 5 questions would probably be quite that will help you. Those 5 questions would probably be enough to answer a political party's question. Now, you may say to me, well, what if one of these 5 don't come up? I would say to you, if you've planned and focus on all 5 of these questions, then I think you will be prepared for any eventual question on political parties, right? You've got to game the system. That's how you got to game it. That's how you got to work it. These 5 questions are so fundamental. Answering these will probably allow you to answer most political parties' questions. Now, it won't, if they give you a funding question, it doesn't automatically give you an answer to the funding question, but that's already come up, twice before. So fine, I don't think they're going to bring it up again so soon before they brought it up last time round. So I think those 5 questions are probably quite important questions for you to focus on between now and your exams. Right, I'm taking your questions. So I'm just giving you a taster of how to focus, right? How to focus. Rosie's asked me the question, what is the name of your book on Amazon? So why don't you type in A-Level Politics UK Revision Patel, and then you'll come up. A-Level Politics UK Revision Patel, and then I think it will come up, right? Would you do practice essays, Theo, for essays that come up last year? No, I wouldn't do that. At best, what I would do, Theo, is just read the examiner's reports for last year's questions. I wouldn't really bother now. I would have said, if you asked me that question 2 months ago, I would say yes. I don't think you should do that now. Yeah, I don't think you should do that now. Yes. Could there be a Lib Dem question? I don't think so. I can't say for sure, Pigeon. But I don't think so, to be honest. But I think there could be a question that asks you about the major parties where you can bring in the Lib Dems. Fine. I think there could be a question that asks you about, the minor parties where you can bring the Lib Dems, but I don't think you get a Lib Dems question directly. Yeah, there's a question from Tom about the functions of political parties. I'm not convinced that you get a functions of political parties question as a 30 marker. It doesn't sit right for me, but I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but it doesn't sit right for me. I don't know about source questions. I'm afraid you can never predict what's going to come up as a source. Cara, Rochelle, about the slides. Yeah, I could probably put those slides up somewhere. Fine. Yeah, as I said, Tom, divisions within parties. I've already said that, haven't I? Is one of my 5 or 6 questions. So you could certainly, that could come up. Fatima, democracy and participation will always come up. I don't get what you're saying. Every topic will come up. Most topics will always come up, right? Yeah, as I said, Thatcherism could come up. That's exactly what I said. So you'd have to bring in One Nation then, wouldn't you, in a question like that? Yeah, Fatima, I may need to do something separate on political ideas, But political ideas, yeah, I'm not focusing too much on political ideas now, but yeah, it's not that hard. Political ideas, I tell you, we can game the system quite well. There are 7 questions for each political idea. You've got to then eliminate the questions that have come up in the last couple of years. And so you then can think about, focusing your questions on a few. Um, I think what I'm going to do in my political ideas King's College session is I'm probably going to say there are probably 9 or 10 questions for political ideas I want you to focus on. And yeah, I mean, I can't tell you for sure, but those 9 questions are going to give you enough of a flexibility to answer broader questions. Yeah. Um, yeah, there's a question about voting behavior questions. How do we approach them? Yeah, I may say a few words about voting behavior questions. So I may do that next. Hello, my politics teacher left, and we were on UK government executive. I did not make any notes for UK politics. How should I revise? So, hello, Purple. You've just got to. I would say for you in particular, why don't you go through my 2 sessions uh, on UK politics? I think go through those 2 courses because you've not had any lessons at all on UK politics. If you feel comfortable with essay writing, then still start with the essay writing first, and then reverse engineer. Work on your content knowledge by focusing on essay questions. Always start with essay questions, I would say. Um, yeah. You struggle with AO3 and mini conclusions, Margaret? You shouldn't really. There's a video up on YouTube where I go through how to write 30 markers. So yeah, I think that's the thing. Yeah. So the UK. So when I say 2 sessions, actually there are 8 videos, but I'm saying they're 2 series. Again, they're in that courses section on my website. They're in that courses section on my website. Right. I will put up the 2023 examiners report, I think, in sometime soon on my revision section on my website. I've got that. I've got a revision section, so you can look at it there. Samiet, I've already talked about how to start revising from now. You probably missed the first part of my session, so that is fine. Let me go through. I don't have very much time. I don't have very much time, but what I might do is go through. What am I going to go through? Yeah, I'm going to go through voting behavior. Let me share the screen with you again. Just give me a second. I'm going to stop that. I need to share screens. I need to share the window. Right. Can you see my voting behavior screen? I think you can now. I can see it. So I think you can as well. Right. So for voting behavior, I think that these are the questions that I feel you should focus on. There are quite a few actually, but I think if you answer these questions, you probably would be in a good position for voting behavior. So evaluate the view that party policies and manifestos have little impact on the outcome of elections, right? Evaluate the view that election. So here you would say, in fact, I'll show you that. So here you would. I've always said to students, go through election in voting behavior. I know it sounds a bit it's superficial, but do it by elections. So 2019, 97, and 79, for example. What I said here is that party, so we're saying, does party manifestos and policies matter, or do other factors matter? Right. So you could have a paragraph to say in 2019, party policies did matter. In 2019, party policies didn't matter. Evaluate the view that election campaigns are decisive in determining the outcome of elections. So what we mean by that is, at the beginning of, say, when Parliament is closed down and election is called, the campaign, is that decisive, or do other factors, longer term factors, really contribute? Maybe social factors, or maybe factors to do with the personalities of leaders or the economy. Maybe those factors have a part to play in the outcome of elections. Evaluate the view that the economy and economic policies of a party determine the outcome of elections. So party economics in particular determines how people vote. Evaluate the view that age, ethnicity, and region play a decisive role in determining the outcome of elections. That's another, I think, quite an important question that you could focus on in voting behavior. I can't be sure with voting behavior, but I would say that, these questions haven't yet come up. And so there's every possibility, and they very much conform to the specification. So there's every possibility that they could come up in the final exams. Right, let's take some questions again. Yeah, Fatima, since there's a lot of questions in my book, how can I prioritize? I'm doing that for you now, aren't I, Fatima? I'm letting you prioritize. But yes. Yeah, yeah, Tom, the media certainly does play a part in this, but the media has come up now 2 times, right? So that's why I'm hedging my bets. But you're right, you probably do need to have a separate media. No, sorry, actually, I lie. There is a media question which I did cover. The media question was, evaluate the view that the media have a decisive impact on the outcome of elections. Evaluate the view that the media have a decisive impact on the outcome of elections. Yes, I think you probably do need to cover the media. No, I don't think there could be a voting behavior question focusing on a specific general election. I mean, last year they did have a source question which sort of focused on the 97 general election. But apart from that, they can't ask you a question about any other general election because only the 97 election was compulsory, right? So in answer to your question, I don't think you'd get that this year. It's very important to include examples, Spam. You need examples to get into the level 4s and the level 5s. So yeah, you do need examples. Yeah, exactly. Media has come up twice now. So I'm not convinced that the media will come up again. Yeah. Do we relate it to think tanks and pressure groups? Not really. No, I don't think so. I don't think there's a link between media and think tanks and pressure groups, unless I'm mistaken. No, I think examples from 2019 are not bad. Contemporary examples are examples in sort of the last 10 years. But the closer your examples to today, the better your essay is going to be, right? And that's what I try to do. I try to give lots of current examples. Yes. Yeah, this video will be uploaded onto my channel. Tips for AO1. Again, I've got a video on how AO1, AO2, AO3, so you should have a look at that, how to write 30-mark essays. And I give lots of tips on how to do AO1. Yes. Okay, right. Any further questions? Anyone got any other questions to ask me? So I've done parties, I've done voting behavior. I mean, I suppose just to complete it, by the way, electoral systems is the one I can never. Electoral systems is you've got to know the topic and you've got to be able to answer it. So electoral systems, I would say, I don't generally give lots of tips on or give sort of lots of focuses on electoral system because it's a very self-contained topic. And actually, once you know the electoral systems, you can actually answer any one of those questions. So I don't particularly think that electoral systems are that difficult to do. But let me just, for the sake of completion, let me say a few words about democracy and participation. This is a tough question, but I prepared it and planned it. Evaluate the view that pressure groups are less influential than corporations in influencing government policy. I do feel this question could come up in the exam. Oh, have I? I've not shared a screen. Have I shared a screen? Oh, I have shared a screen. Right. So I think a question like, because they haven't asked a question on corporations. So I think they wouldn't ask a standalone question on corporation, but a question like this could possibly come up. Right. I think a question like this could come up. Evaluate the view that there is a crisis of participation in the United Kingdom. I mean, that's a good question to answer. Evaluate the view that rights are no longer adequately protected in the UK. That had come up before in some shape or form, but it could come up, I suppose. Yeah, evaluate the view that wider introduction of direct democracy will improve the quality of the United Kingdom's representative democracy. I think that's quite a good question, by the way. Oh, and in answer, I've actually got on my YouTube, I put up a video going through this question. Evaluate the view that apart from referendums, so you can't talk about referendums anymore, the introduction of other forms of direct democracy would undermine representative democracy in the UK. It's a tough question. I've got an answer for this on my website, so you can have a look at that. Yes. So I would focus on those questions for democracy. Again, maybe 5 questions there that you could focus on for democracy. And that's how you got to do it. You just got to focus for paper 1, and I'm saying Edexcel here. There's probably, what have we said? 6 questions for parties, 5 or 6 questions for democracy, probably 5 or 6 questions for voting behavior. And then with electoral systems, you've just got to know it and be able to practice it. So maybe with electoral systems, there's another 4 questions. So, you've probably got around 20 questions, 18 questions that you've got to focus on between now and your exam. And if you master those questions, you'll be in a good position to get the UK politics bit of the course done. Link to my website, alevelpolitics.com. I'll type it in there so you can look at my website. It's on the logo, alevelpolitics.com. Yeah, that's a horrible question, but I've got an answer for it on my website, on my YouTube channel, so you can actually look at that answer. Yeah, I have got. You can go on my website. There's a how to answer a 24-mark political ideas question. I've got that up already on my website, so you can certainly look at that. Yeah, there's a question there from JJJ. How do you approach the question that evaluate the view that there's partisan de-alignment in the UK? Did I put that question in my book? Have I been cruel enough to put that question in my book? Is that why you're asking it? Let me just have a look. Because have I just been like extra cruel? Did I put that in my book? I don't think I have. No, I don't think that's my question. Yeah, all that means, there's another way of phrasing that. All that means, partisan de-alignment, all that really means is that people are no longer voting according to party lines now. They're jumping from party to party. They're no longer saying, I am working class and so I'm Labour. I am middle class and so I'm Conservative. They're no longer doing that anymore. Yeah. Yes, I have answers to all of those predicted questions, Kay, and that is it. And they're all contained within that. They'll be on show in my King's College Day, which I would really love it if you come to that, because I feel that it really does help with exam focus, I have to say. Yes. Chanel, evaluate the view that the emergence of multiple parties in the UK means that the Westminster electoral system must be changed. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't mind. That's a lovely question. I like that. But when you do that question, Chanel, make sure you bring in you bring in first past the post, but you also bring in a party list or AMS. You bring in STV, and SV, which is of course no longer used in the UK, but you can still bring it in. So make sure you answer it with those other electoral systems rather than just say first past the post, good and bad, right? That's not how you should answer it. Yeah, Tom, I don't really understand the difference between the two direct democracy. The only difference is one question doesn't allow you to use referendums as a form of direct democracy. So then you have to talk about other forms of direct democracy. That's the difference. How would you approach learning examples? You write essays. And when you're writing essays and when you're planning essays, you research examples as you write and plan essays. Don't just endlessly look for examples at this stage, at least. Just write essays and then come back to it. And again, as I said to you, my book is full of examples in relation to essays. If you come to the King's College Day, you get a lot of great examples next week. But it's about essay writing, really. If you can't do that, just write essays and don't now. Okay, I would say that if you're winding down, and some of you will say, well, you don't do this when you wind down, but if you're winding down after a days of revision, listen to the News Agents podcast. For UK politics, just listen to News Agents um, every day, and you'll get some great examples from that. Yeah, some brilliant examples. I'm going to focus on these examples at the King's College session. Yeah, I'm going to be going for all of the essay plans for these examples, and then again, I'm going to do that for the 7 or 8 political ideas questions as well. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I hope that makes sense. So we're coming up to 6 o'clock, and I did say I want to stop at 6. Yeah, AXA, how should I do essay plans? Again, AXA, you're writing. You got 3 paragraphs, for and against, for and against, for and against. I've actually talked about this in my 30 mark, how to write a 30 marker. But the essay plan is really um, a detailed plan with. Think about an essay plan with your point, examples, analysis, and interim judgments. You've got to have all 4 of those things. Point. I mean, in a paragraph, you could have point, examples, analysis, counterpoint, examples, analysis, and interim conclusion. Right? If you don't know what interim conclusion is, just watch my 30 mark video on YouTube, and you'll get what an interim conclusion is. And Asiro, I think it is, likes the News Agents. Fantastic. How useful is it to do past papers in exam conditions? I wouldn't do past papers in exam conditions, Maria. I've said that. I would get a voter bank. I would get a bank of questions and go through those bank of questions. But as you go through my bank, the focuses I gave you today are for UK politics. I would just go through all of them. And then when you have time, go through other questions. I'm not saying past paper questions won't come up. Party funding came up twice, right? Media has come up twice. So I'm not saying they won't come up, but they're less likely to come up twice, right? The more likelihood is they're going to ask you newer questions. So I think, in any single paper, I think I've only really got those 2 examples of repeat questions so far. I don't think I've got any examples of political ideas repeat questions. And I think only those 2 questions, party funding and minority parties, I mean, they were the only 2 questions that have come up twice in Edexcel paper 1. So the likelihood of past papers coming up again is not really there. So I wouldn't focus just on that. Oh, good. Yeah. The A-level politics show on Spotify goes through exam questions. Good. Yeah, I like that. I haven't listened to it for some time, but I think the teacher who does it is really good. I would highly recommend it. Good. Can you get array? We're doing 5 points instead of 6. You can do. Try your best to do 6, even if it's a minus point in the 6. So like by points we mean, at the moment the Edexcel examiners do like to have 3 paragraphs, and in those huge paragraphs, and they got 4 against, 4 against, 4 against. So you're asking the question: could we get away with 1 paragraph where we've just got a 4 or an against? I would say yes, you can, but still try to put an against, even if it's a couple of lines in that final paragraph. In a source question, you do, again, I've got a really good source answer, how to answer a source question. You don't use the opinion in the source, you use your own opinion. I explain it in great depth. How do you answer a source-based question? So yeah, I would look at that. Yes, Tom, yeah. Tom, I think I've given an answer. If you go to my YouTube video on that direct democracy question, I think I do give a counter to that. I mean, a counter to the recall MPs paragraph, I suppose, is that it's a bit of a charade. It's a bit of a fake the way it's done in the UK, really, because the way it's done in the UK is a bit silly, because you got to go through so many hoops before before a citizen can even recall their MPs. So yeah. I don't know if you have to pay for the podcast. I mean, the podcast is free. I would imagine it's free. Yeah, I will do some last minute revision boosts before the exams. I will do that. I'm going to do so in the half term holiday. I will probably do a webinar. I think by then I'll probably do a day conference online where we'll go through component 2, we'll go through Edexcel component 2, and we'll go through global politics. They were quite well attended last year, and everyone said they saved they did a really good, it really did work out for them. Yes. I struggle with political ideas since it's hard to do one paragraph for. No, you don't. You don't do for and against with political ideas. You don't do that at all. Look at my how to answer a 24, unless you're talking about AQA, which may be different. But for Edexcel, you don't do that at all. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So go through my how to answer a 24 mark Edexcel political ideas question, and I answer that in a lot of detail. Okay, we'll come to 6, and I have to go. But a quick question from Focus Worldwide: which one would you recommend out of the revision days, ideologies or UK politics? I don't know his answer. It's what you're weak on, or what you think you need the most help on. To be honest, so I think that try to. All right, I'm gonna be. I have. Yeah, I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna say that if you. Yeah, no, what am I gonna say? I think uh, um, if you're struggling with political ideas, then I feel that no, in fact, I've said that for both of them. To be honest, I think both of them will be very useful. Um, Kay, should I buy your book or revision set? Okay. I shouldn't really be. I don't know is the answer to that question, Kay. There will be a recording of this, Lelith. Lelith? Yes, there will be a recording of this. I'm thinking about, if I was in your shoes, I would go to the revision session and not buy the book. If there was a one or the other, I would go to revision sessions, because the revision session is just focusing, right? It's just focusing. But there's a risk. The risk is that I'm making a risk here. I'm saying to you, focus on these questions, but other questions could come up, right? That's the point I'm saying to you. But I think it's worth taking. You have got 7 weeks, having said that, before your first exam. Is that right? 7 weeks? Have I made that up? All right. No, it's not 7 weeks. Sorry. Where are we now? So we are here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's 7 weeks. 21st. You got 7 weeks left. That's good. That's a good amount of time. 6 weeks-ish. What I would do is the best way to put a timetable together, I would timetable essay questions. These are the essays I'm going to do this week. These are essays I'm going to do second week, third week, fourth week, fifth week, sixth week. I would do that. Yeah. Yeah, everyone's got their exam on the 21st of May. I think you've got plenty of time. I think, even if you're on a C grade, you can get an A grade in these 6 or 7 weeks. I believe it. I'm convinced of that, by the way. As long as you focus on these essay questions, you get the right answers to these questions, I think you'll be fine. Yeah. All right, guys. I think I'm going to end it there, because I just promised 1 hour, and we've done quite well. And there's 40 of you still left. I'm pretty impressed that so many of you came on a Saturday with just 1 email notice. So I'm pretty impressed with that. I'm going to try to do many more of these things if I can before the exam. I've just been very busy. This year has been a really busy year for me, so I've not been able to focus too much on. As I said, I don't do any one-to-one tuitions anymore. Yes, great to see you all, and I wish you all the best. And I will be doing another live, so just keep subscribing and subscribe to my Substack. So whenever I send things out, you can get that on email, can't you? It's been very helpful. Thank you, Tom. All right, guys, amazing as always. I shall see you when I see you. See you later, guys.